From what I can remember, my childhood was pretty damn fantastic. We weren't spoiled, we just felt entitled to the gifts and birthday parties that we thought we earned. We were kids, so obviously we didn't consider the possibility that we would put our parents into financial struggle by wanting every single toy and knickknack that we got our eyes on. Now, thank God that we never got close to doing that, but the thought of sparing something that we wanted instead of basking in the moment at hand was basically non existent. Now, years later, we adopted my sister Christina from Russia when she was already 13 years old. Since Christina was raised in an entirely different background and culture, sharing an experience off of a tangible item just wasn't going to cut it. Even though we didn't speak the same language at the time, we could tell that she didn't think it was necessary, or even practical for that matter. We all had to start making small sacrifices, like eating less at the dinner table, sharing our already puny allowances, or sharing a portion of our bedroom and our bathroom. In daily outings, instead of going to the movies or the King of Prussia Mall, we started going to the dog park or simply enjoying a nice walk. Now, Christina taught us all a lot of things, but the one thing that really stuck into our family mold was how we had to learn how to be content. I wish I learned this earlier in life, but now we didn't have to purchase an experience. As long as we were happy with being in each other's presence, that's all that mattered. Christina truly bridged and insulated our family closer together. Now fast forward to last November, when we found out Christina was getting married in San Juan, at a 5-star resort called the Grand Melia. The Grand Melia was visually breathtaking, but I had a lot of issues with the resort. First off, there was constant construction on the resort. The main pool and bar area was under maintenance the entire time we were there. Simply put, the Grand Melia felt like it was still being transitioned into 5 stars, not that it had already earned their reputation beforehand. But that wasn't it. It wasn't a culinary resort in the slightest. They advertised their food as high level, and that's not how it came off at all. The customer service of the staff was swift, but the only experiences I had with that is how quick they would tell me I couldn't leave the resort. The resort falsely advertised itself as a sanctuary. I went to Puerto Rico to get away, not to feel more in prison than before. When I asked the staff why I couldn't leave the resort, they would never really give me a straightforward answer, and later when I researched this topic, I never really found an answer either. I was disappointed that I couldn't leave the resort's territory, but what had further enraged me is that they wouldn't even give me a simple answer of why I couldn't. Sure, it could have been for safety or for so that we spend all of our money in the resort or something like that, but what about the locals that lived outside of the resort? The people who always had to witness mass wealthy celebrations and only be able to watch from a couple of 100 yards away. Since the staff seemed so adamant about keeping us on the territory, I was extremely surprised that I couldn't find a specific reason for this ludicrous rule. Since my sister's wedding was later in the day, I wasn't going to let the resort's inconsiderate rules ruin my attitude. The wedding was fantastic, and despite my current feeling for the resort, I still think they pulled off the wedding nicely. What happened next surprised me. I started to become disappointed with my family. I was surprised because everyone, including Christina, was gratuitously spending money. What Christina taught us about her culture was that they had to be happy of what they settled for. She was taught that if something elaborate and expensive came along, that it wouldn't take anything special away from something that was already less valuable. She saw the equal value in things, regardless if she spent money on it or not. I figured that my family learned to settle and be content in the moment as long as we had each other. But the souvenir or costly tour that they wanted to obtain next seemed to be more important than any of that. Since it was my family's first wedding, I kept all my thoughts to myself. I was just shocked at how quick the rest of my family flipped when something extravagant was waved in front of their face. It's like they momentarily forgot what Christina had molded into our family when she became a part of it. If it wasn't already clear, at the end of this trip I was disappointed with a couple things. I hated the resort for not letting us outside their territory. It robbed my family from fully immersing ourselves into a less privileged culture. A process that was extremely effective in life-changing us for the first time around. I was also mad at the resort because they advertised themselves as 5-star luxury, when that could not be further from the truth. I was disappointed in my family's disinterest in exploring another culture, but also how much money they spent so that they could feel like the experience in Puerto Rico was fulfilled and successful. What happened to being content as long as we had each other? What happened to learning from the less privileged? What happened to caring about the less privileged? This expensive resort seemed to have my family in a trance, and I can't ever forgive the Grandma Leah for that. To this day, I still wonder what a different and influential trip this could have been if we were allowed to leave the resort. If we were allowed to leave, would the trip would have been a more fruitful experience for my family? I like to think so. Will my family ever realize the disappointment? Probably not. Will I hold it against them? No, I definitely won't. I'll just have to catch myself next time if I ever notice I'm doing the same thing.